What's up, real MVPs, the nerds of MVP, I should say. Welcome into MVP Games Live. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Soapy Muffin.
Hola, senors.
How are you doing today, Soaps? Before we officially started this show, we were talking about masks and how we should probably wash ours, because like yourself, I have not washed my mask ever, which is probably a bad thing.
Man, the way to make us just sound nasty right off the start.
I haven't washed my
I've only
Evo
had this
Shield.
thing for a few days.
I haven't washed my Evo Shield in two
Oh
years.
my god, dude, that ties in too well. You just made it basically sound like, we don't take showers here. BO's normal, damn it.
Oh, you're killing me to start. But welcome into MVP Games Live, our daily gaming show here on twitch.tv /MVP vids. What tripped me up is I was like, our daily game show. And then I'm like, but it's not a game show. It's a gaming show. The show will get much better, I promise. But before we get into everything, we have some Cyberpunk today. We've got some more Apple Epic stories to talk about that might get a little heated. We'll see. But let's get into a little bit of housekeeping before we start. Number one, Discord's open to everyone. Welcome into the Discord. If you're on YouTube, link is right down below. If you're on Twitch, myself, Soapy, somebody is going to put the Discord link into Twitch chat right now. Thank you, Sean, for doing it. Soapy's like, I'll let him have it this time after he snatched it 2 times during the sports show. It's open to everyone. Come on in, have some good conversations about some nerdy things, some sports things, any flavor that you want. We also have watch along channels, voice channels that our patrons can get into. So if you want to support the channel, support the show, patreon.com/MVPvids. Special thanks to our Patreon producer, Pat Hill, platinum producer, member, supporter, every word. Thank you to Pat, our Patreon
Thanks, Pat.
producer. Other things is I plan on having this weekend, I'm going to be all Saturday watching DC Fandom. So expect videos for all of those things. These will be on podcast services eventually. Thank you for your patience. And then we're on twitch.tv /MVPvids. But if you're on Twitch, you ever miss a show, MVP Entertainment on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to that. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, we do the show live around 6 p.m. usually, 5:30, 6 p.m. Central Time. So come check it out live if you got the chance. But every show will be put up on YouTube. But Soapy, let's get into what we're talking about today. And our first topic comes from one of our patrons, and it comes from Brandon Daly. As we know him in the Discord, his name is Retro. And he wanted us to take a look at Cyberpunk 2077, and he didn't have a specific question for this. He just wanted us to talk about our expectations. If you want to be like Brandon, go ahead and patreon.com /MVPvids, silver and above, get to kind of ask us questions that we may or may not talk about on the show. But Cyberpunk 2077 is an interesting one. I remember when it was announced, we used to do Too Old the Game at that time. Dave was pumped for it. Even when they came out with the demo gameplay, the one at the bottom that said hey, this is just a demo. And there was a part of me that's like, wow, this doesn't look so good. But Dave's like, dude, it's a demo. Don't worry. This game's going to be awesome. Then at E3, they had Keanu Reeves come out. They said that, hey, Keanu Reeves is going to be in the game. People got hyped even more. And then it got delayed. And then it got delayed. And then it got delayed. It's felt like it's been delayed 3 times. I don't know if it's been exactly 3. But it's supposed to come out this November. However, there's a chance it might even get delayed. But we're not talking about that today. What I do want to talk about is what Brandon was asking is, what are our expectations for Cyberpunk 2077? Because there are a slew of things that we're going to mention that people are already talking about it. But Soapy, I will ask you, before I mention any of that, when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077, what are your thoughts about it right now on August 18th, 2020?
I can't wait for this game. That's all I keep thinking. I mean, it's not the only thing I keep thinking about. I keep thinking about how my mask smells like cream cheese. The people I work with are kind of weird sometimes. And, and there's other thoughts I have in my head. But when it comes to gaming, at least up there, besides the my constant thoughts of the Burger King game slander needs to end, is I can't wait for Cyberpunk to come out. It's something that, like with Dave, I've nonstop just been hyped for this game. Like, every time we've seen gameplay, I get more excited, and it's because this is right up my alley. I love these types of games. Obviously, there was a little bit of a controversy early on. I don't really want to tap on that because it's kind of like it's a shaky subject. With controversy, but I am really excited for it.
I mean, for me, everything that I've seen is, I am also excited, but I'm kind of skeptical, only because of the fact that it's been delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. Because when you have a game that's been delayed this much, it's either going to be because of one or two reasons. It's either going to be because the studio's actually being smart about it, and they're like, you know what, instead of trying to crunch to make this game, we're going to take the time to basically put the game out the best that it can be. Or it could be the other one of, holy shit, there's so many problems here, and we got to fix those, and we're not in the room, so we don't know exactly what that is. But that scares me just un pequeño, just a little bit. But there are people that are already saying they have worries. There's a article from Game Rant, which is a long article by Rob Dolan, where he talks about Cyberpunk 2077 may repeat the mistakes of Skyrim. That closely relates to articles that I've seen for, like, GameSpot from Alessandro Barbosa that says Cyberpunk 2077's melee combat could be better according to developers. And that's the one I want to get into because the other article I mentioned at, Game Rant, kind of talks about the same thing, and melee combat is a big one. Barbosa's article basically says, in an interview with VG 24/7, senior gameplay designer Pawel Kapala explained that the team is still working on the first-person melee system, stating that they're not 100% happy with its input, or basically they're not 100% happy with it. We're spending a lot of time trying to perfect that, and we're not 100% happy, mostly with visual feedback on the hits, on the melee, so we're still working on it. But, like, even with that, like, people having worries about that, to me, Soapy, maybe it's because everyone's comparing this to Skyrim, and Skyrim's melee. Maybe it's because I didn't play Skyrim that I don't know about this, but, like, when it comes to Cyberpunk, I'm not, like, melee isn't the first thing that comes to my mind. It's because of everything I've seen with guns and stuff. That's what I want. How's it going to feel when I'm pointing a gun at someone and I'm shooting them? Like, I'm not thinking, like, maybe I'm wrong and I should be thinking about the melee combat more than I should, but what do these comments say to you about the melee and people comparing it to Skyrim and its problems?
I mean, it makes me think there may be some issues with the melee. My whole thing is, I feel, and this is just, my personal take on it.
That's what I want.
There's just this weird, like, hate boner all of a sudden for Skyrim. Like, I don't know where it came from.
Like, it's cool to hate Skyrim, bro.
Yeah, well, because it was, like, 2 or 3 years ago. Oh my god, like, you even said something bad about Skyrim. It's over. You're just getting called every name under the sun. I'm not going to repeat any of them, because...
Way to be an edgelord, man. Talking about Skyrim.
Yeah, and now it's just all of a sudden of like, just holy dude, this game sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just out of nowhere. It's like, obviously, Skyrim's combat was never the best. Once again, that's also just kind of Bethesda's thing. Bethesda's never been good at combat.
Yeah. And I mean, like, is it going to... It also depends on what the game is going to be. Where, like, I can get past games that have subpar combat if it's a game that is supposed to be more about the story. Like, the example I use is the Arkham games, because we just talked about the Batman games yesterday. If that combat system was god-awful, that game wouldn't have worked. Because, like, Batman's a character where you can have the best story in the world, the combat needs to be there. Avengers, where I just played the beta 2 weekends ago, where, yes, you can have a good story, but if Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, Kamala Khan, if their combat's not right, it's not going to feel right. And, I mean, maybe Cyberpunk 2077, we're not as familiar with these characters like we would be a Batman or Avengers, like the two examples I brought up. But, like, that's the thing. Is this going to be a game where the more important aspect is the story and the choices you can make? Because they talked about the life paths. Apparently there's 3 life paths that you can kind of choose from. But basically, like, the decisions that you make and the actions you do kind of influence that and kind of influence what type of a person, where it's very, when they said that, it kind of reminded me of the Mass Effect games, where the one thing, I had a friend, his name was Mike, back in college. He loved the Mass Effect games. And the thing that always intrigued me about them was the fact that he said that his actions in the first game carried over into the second game, those choices, and then it carried on into the next one and the next one. But, like, are we just expecting that, hey, melee is going to be a big part of this and that's why it's going to be a make or break kind of a thing? Or are we just looking at this to where it's like, hey, let's complain about the melee because the developer said, hey, they're working on it because they're not 100% happy with it?
Well, it's with the style of game that we know Cyberpunk's going to end up being, is it falls more into the RPG aspects. So a lot of it is going to be more story-based, because did you watch the hour-long gameplay they released?
Was this the one recently, or, like, was this one like a year
Forever ago?
Yeah, forever ago. Yes, we did, because that was the one that Dave, Mark, and I talked about on Too Old to Game many moons ago. That was the one where, like, at the bottom they said, like, not a finished product, basically.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, it shows at the end of, or near the end of that trailer at least, where they have it to where it's the 2 characters go to basically a tech deal. Yeah, it's like a drug deal, but a futuristic tech deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they have multiple different ways of going about it. Like, I think melee combat is more or less just going to be an option of playstyle you can have. Kind of like how in games like Skyrim, you can be like, oh, I want to only use magic. Oh, I only want to use a bow. I only want to use melee weapons. Stuff like that. I feel like that's just one of the things. And it limits one playstyle heavy if one of the playstyles is Garbo.
Yeah.
And obviously, I will say, CD Projekt Red's never been, in my opinion, really good with combat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Witcher 3 had some pretty fluent combat,
Mm-hmm.
but that's also because it was the Witcher 3 style. And it's the way that Cyberpunk looks. It looks like CD Projekt Red is stepping out of their comfort zone, which I'm happy with. I like when companies do that. And obviously, I may just be more lenient because I love CD Projekt Red. But, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the melee combat isn't super fluent. But once again, like, I'm not going to let my love of CD Projekt Red blind the fact of, if melee combat is, like, basically unplayable, that knocks the game down a notch. And that's something I don't think it'll be at that point. I think, though, that if it's not fun, you're going to see a lot of people bash the game for a week melee playthrough.
Yeah, and I don't know. The other thing I think about, because I pulled up the video from forever ago and I'm watching it, and right now I'm watching towards the end where it's more the melee, like it's more the fight aspect, but right now they're using guns and stuff. And the other thing I kind of think about, and I'm trying to think in my head, like think in your head, the last game that had great, like amazing melee combat that was first person. Because like all the games that I think about where I emphasize on melee combat, Batman Arkham, the Arkham series basically, that was third person. We weren't in Batman's head. We were kind of top down a little bit. Avengers, which I just played, which was third person. God of War, which is third person. Like, I'm trying to find in my mind the last first person, even Last of Us, third person, where most of the games that are more melee driven or have that, like, hey, melee is a viable option, are third person. Like, is that a reason why they're not 100% happy with the melee? Because it's harder to do melee when you're going to do a first person experience, which they have to, because that's the game they set up. But like, if you're going to set that up, this is a then hurdle you're going to have to kind of get around.
Yeah, and I think that's something, like you said, a lot of like really good melee based games are third person. And I don't know if it's harder to do it in first person, which I mean obviously I'm not a game developer. I've never developed games. So I don't know exactly like what's harder to do
But I'll
compared to
say
one another.
this. I know you're not a developer, I'm not a developer, but just as a player of games, did you ever play a game that was first person that had melee combat and felt that, like, did it feel like you were more into the fight than an Arkham series, than of God of War, where it was third person instead of first person?
I mean, there's probably been a game or two in the past. I just can't think of one off the top of my head.
See, I'm at the same spot. I can't think of a game that blew me away or had great melee and was a first person. Like all the ones I think of, Call of Duty, it's a stupid fucking knife. N64 Goldeneye, a karate chop. Like, I can't remember if there's been a first person game that's had great melee combat. Maybe someone from Twitch chat has one, but I'll let you finish with what you were going on with before I cut you off.
I don't know, but it's just I don't know if it's tough to do a melee combat in that style because with RPGs, and this kind of ties more into, and this is personally just like how I view RPGs of like, what side of RPG are you basing your game off more? Are you basing it off story or you want more like intuitive gameplay? And that's the thing I think right now Cyberpunk kind of needs to like not double down, but like it needs to kind of be figured out of what's the primary focus. Is it story or is it gameplay? Because if it's gameplay, you gotta in any way, shape, and or form get melee combat at least to be okay.
Yeah.
If like I said, if gameplay is the number one focus, it has to be like that. If it's story based, then you can kind of lean more into the yeah, it's not that good, all that fun stuff, but the story's good. So I think Cyberpunk walks a weird line right now because it's also at the same time of it being delayed so many times and we've received so many gameplay trailers. Yeah. We still know jack diddly shit about the game.
And that's why we're like, when I saw this come across from Retro, there's a part of me that's like, ooh, expectations. Do I have a lot of expectations for this? Like the last thing we saw was well, not you because you weren't on it, but like myself talked about on Too Old to Game. It's like we haven't. I know they had like an episode of something come out last week, but it wasn't like any gameplay thing. So like, I think you're right. They need to decide: is it going to be a more story-driven game? Is it going to be a more combat or gameplay-driven game? And if it's going to be gameplay, you can't have it where one side of the gameplay is almost unplayable, or kind of to where it's like putting you at a disadvantage. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get to choose between guns or melee, they have to have it viable for the people that want to be more melee. I got it in my head. The only game that has used melee combat and has made me feel good about it is Overwatch, and that's kind of in a different category. Like, the only one I can think about is Doomfist, because yes, he's got the thing on his, I think it's his left arm that shoots, but for the most part, he's a melee guy. But he's got all these abilities that are driven behind melee. That's the only time I can think about being a melee character first person where I felt good about the melee combat. But we're going to kind of put a little kibosh in this one. Yet again, thank you, Brandon, one of our silver patrons, silver above patron. I think Brandon's at the gold level. But silver and above, patreon.com/MVP vids, gets to every week we put out a post. Hey, got any questions for the live shows? This is a patron question. Thank you, Brandon, for the topic and the question.
Love you, Brandon.
But let's move on, Soapy, and we're talking about Epic and Apple again. So this article's a little old. People might be like, guys, this is old news. It's 4 days old. But here's the deal. This would have come out after our show on Friday. We could have talked about it tomorrow or yesterday, but we cut some things in the process. So I saw this. I'm like, does it add anything new to the conversation? No, but yes. It's kind of in the middle. So this is from Nick Statt at The Verge. It says, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney says Apple Fight is about basic freedoms for all consumers and developers. Here's exactly what it's getting down to. And it's basically, in my mind, these two tweets from Tim Sweeney, head of Epic. Where on Friday, he tweeted out, another argument against hashtag free Fortnite is this is just a $1 billion company fighting a $1 trillion company about money. But the fight isn't over Epic wanting a special deal. It's about the basic freedoms of all consumers and developers. He then replied to that tweet and said, finally, there's nothing wrong with fighting about money. You work hard to earn this stuff. When you spend it, the way it's divided determines whether your money funds the creation of games or is taken by middlemen who use their power to separate gamers from the game creators. Soapy, I know when this all came out, we were kind of on the same side where I said I would like to believe that Epic is fighting for the common good, but part of me wants to say they're not. Do these tweets and this new update from Tim Sweeney, actually hearing it from his Twitter account, change your stance on the Epic Apple battle, or is this just basically fodder for the masses?
It's fodder. I don't give a single fuck how many times someone can tell me that they're doing it for the little guy.
Mm-hmm.
The whole argument that I hate, and I said this in the last time we talked about it, people need to understand, if you use their product, if your game is on their app store,
mm-hmm.
Apple's app store, mind you, they own it. You are using their platform.
Mm-hmm.
They are able to take money from it.
Yeah.
And even that, they're not even taking that much. It's 30, like 30 cents for every dollar.
Yeah.
And Fortnite's 30%. Fucking free.
Yeah, 30%.
Yeah. People need to realize that, does it seem fucked up that Apple's able to do that? Mm-hmm. Sure, why not? Once you realize they made the product that it's on, mm-hmm. or they made the service that Fortnite is trying to literally break the terms of service for,
mm-hmm.
the Epic's not in the wrong. Epic is 100% in the wrong. And I don't understand how anyone could be like, oh, it is for the little guy. If they gave a shit about the little guy, Epic would launch a service so people could launch their game.
Just to clarify, because it sounded like you said Epic is wrong, Epic is not wrong. You meant Apple is not wrong. Epic is
Yeah,
wrong.
Apple's not wrong.
Yeah, I was just clarifying because on my end, I don't know if anyone else heard it that way. It sounded like you said Epic and Epic. So I wanted to clarify that for people, but you can continue.
Yeah, it's if Epic wants to do shit for the little guy, simple as this: make your own platform. Make your own platform so people can put their games on it. But guess what? They're not going to, because you want to know why?
Why?
They'll find out very quickly you don't make fucking money off of it.
See, but like, I'm going to jump in, and here's the thing where I feel like, do I agree with you? Yes, there's a silver lining of me that agrees with you, but there's a part of me that is like, what Tim Sweeney is saying is not wrong. It is kind of like, it is kind of fucked up how iOS runs it on a developer standpoint. Like if I'm a developer and I'm thinking if I'm not Riot Games, to where basically you put so much heart and soul into making a game, even if it's a mobile game, that you need every penny sometimes to then either recoup what you spent on the game in order to then feed yourself and then be like, oh, I want to make another game. Where the question to me is, Google doesn't do this, does it? Like the Google Play Store doesn't do this.
Google does.
Do they? Okay. But Google also
does.
But Google also has it to where you don't have to use Google Play to play Fortnite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where
that's why it was the gooning thing. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. That's why it was the stupid thing of like you can still play Fortnite on Google devices.
Yeah, where that's why I think the battle is more ferocious with Apple, because part of me is like, I don't think Epic is fighting about, they're not fighting in my mind about the, hey, you're charging, you're taking 30% of the cut. What they're saying, and maybe this is me reading into it too much and they're not, but it's kind of fucked up that in order to play it on Apple, you have to play it through the App Store, where on an Android you don't. And that's just Mac in general. Mac and Apple have always been that, where we are iOS, you're going to do it this way, this is our product. And to me, I still can't wait to see what comes from this. Because I'll be honest, the tweet that said, finally, there's nothing wrong about fighting about money. The more he explained it, it got a little better. But hearing that first part from somebody, like, basically my point was, proofread your tweet. You could have worded it a little bit better than that. Because when someone who's rich says there's nothing wrong about fighting about money, it just lands wrong when you're talking to people who don't have the money you have. But yeah, I wanted to get this out there because this was the first time we've heard any update or comment since we've talked about it. And this is something this is, like it or not, going to shape the gaming world, the mobile world, because the only reason why Epic has a fight here is because of how much money Fortnite brings in. And I wonder, the longer this drags out, I wonder how much money Apple is going to lose. Because the other thing that I just thought of this week, Soapy, that I want to throw your way, is there are people that have said like, oh, well, Epic did a great job basically walking Google into a lawsuit. Do you think the timing of this was planned also? Of like, hey, let's do it end of August, September, right before the holidays, right before usually you get those holiday deals going, because even if this isn't like sorted out by the holidays, how much money could that be a loss for Apple if they don't have Fortnite on the platform, one of their biggest revenue generators in the App Store?
I mean, I don't think it affects them that much, and it's
Okay.
because, and it's one of those things of Apple is such a huge company that, like, obviously, Fortnite is a license to print money,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, though, they don't it's one of those things. Like, let's say someone buys $5 worth of V-Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Apple gets $1 from it. Like, just maybe a little bit more than $1.
Yeah, it was from what the screenshot I saw was it was $10 for the like you paid $10 and then that would be what?
$3.
$3 goes to Apple, 7 goes to Epic. So like still you're getting more of it. It's just Apple's taking a cut of it. Which yet again I understand, but at the same time there's a part of me that thinks, but why can they do it but Google can't? Well, like Google does, but Google you can still play Fortnite without going through the App Store. Like that part confuses me how Apple can do that, but Google can't, or like an Android phone can't.
It's because of the way the companies are set up.
Mm-hmm.
It's Apple 100% single-handedly owns their phone.
Yeah.
Android and Google basically work together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things of, because that's why, like, for instance, I'm on an Android. I have 2 separate app stores.
Oh, okay.
I have the Google Play Store and the Galaxy Store.
Okay.
So that's why it's so that both companies have a chance of making money. Because some games are only on the Galaxy Store, some are only on the Google Store, and stuff like that. But it's just, I almost feel, and I don't want to get into like conspiracy theory territory.
Go ahead. No, I love it. Conspiracy me up.
I have a theory that Epic is testing the waters to see if they could pull this shit with Microsoft and Sony. Because they also take a cut of the games as well.
So you think they're doing it to see if it goes in their favor, hey, let's pick a fight with now Microsoft and Sony.
Yeah. So that basically, like I said in the last one, if corporations gave a shit about anybody, there wouldn't be corporations.
Mm-hmm.
That I do not believe for a single second that this is for the little guy.
Okay.
This is so they can maximize the profits they would get from Fortnite.
Oh my
God. Like,
you just blew my mind for a second. You want to know what I just thought about? Take your theory with my theory, put them together. Apple's not the big dog. Apple's the small dog. The big dog is, hey, if this works now, 2 months later, we can do it with Microsoft and Sony, get them right before their next gen drops. You don't think that would hurt the pockets a little bit right before they're going into next gen? With the holiday sales and maybe I'm too stuck on the holiday sales thing, but like, I don't know. It kind of got to me. Like maybe they are doing that. Hey, see how it works here before they go to Microsoft and Sony.
Okay, just so I can make sure you can hear me, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Did you drop your phone?
I disconnected for a second.
Oh, okay.
No.
I heard a thud.
I disconnected for a second.
I heard a thud, and I was like, "Don't worry, he'll be back. Don't worry, he'll be back." I was just kind of piecing our two theories together, which maybe doesn't work at all.
Yeah, like it's just, I feel they're not like I said, corporations don't give a shit about the little guy. Mm-hmm. You don't want to help your competition, no matter how small they are.
Yeah. Because
let's say, for instance, someone makes a Fortnite clone and people love it. Congratulations, they're making money off your idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's right now with mobile games. It's basically a game becomes big, everyone copies that format.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, it's for instance, Fortnite's one of the biggest. You get Fortnite clones.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Raid Shadow Legends is big. People copy that. People follow the trend.
With Fortnite, it was PUBG, then Fortnite.
Well,
and now we've got like Battle Royale, Warzone.
Yeah. I thought you were about to say PUBG copied Fortnite. I'm like, all right, listen here, buddy.
No. PUBG came
We ain't going to have this fucking argument.
PUBG came first, then Fortnite blew him out of the water. And then it was Battle Royale. Oh, this game doesn't have one? Guess what? It's got a Battle Royale. And now Warzone is like the next biggest Battle Royale that's been released since, I would say since Fortnite came out. I would say Fortnite's still bigger than Warzone, but Warzone's up there. Like, for example, I was watching yesterday a little bit of Dr. D's stream on YouTube because I wanted to check it out, see what he's like on YouTube. And he did a poll. He's like, everyone in the chat, do I play Warzone today or Fall Guys? And it was mostly Warzone. Warzone. So, like, the Battle Royale genre started with PUBG, but Fortnite brought it to a new level where it changed the gaming, like, atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, it was basically just to round off my final thought.
Go ahead.
I don't want to say, like, oh, this is timed. I think, like, that part is just so happens. But I think Epic is testing the waters to see if they could pull this shit with another company.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just because they want money.
Yeah.
I don't care if, like, Tom Sweeney could donate half the corporation's money. I'd be like, okay, that's a power move to make it seem like you're being good.
Tim, not Tom.
Tom, fucking, I don't care.
Tom.
Yeah, Tom. But
aren't those like shoes?
I think so. I don't know. But it's just, this is the thing that I hate about gaming now, is this is the greed that we keep seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And this shit is just going to get worse. If Epic wins, I'm being dead serious, we could see the end of console gaming.
You think so?
Like, yeah. And the reason why is because if they do this shit with Apple, Microsoft's arguably not as big as Apple. They could easily pull that shit with them. Yeah, Sony's maybe around the same size.
How would that end console gaming, though? Like,
because then other companies are going to say, you're not monetizing off of mine, so then consoles are losing money.
Mm-hmm.
To where then, for instance, is there an incentive to even make consoles anymore? That's, like, obviously I'm not saying, like, it's going to be overnight, but, like, down the line, it's, if bigger and bigger titles are saying, no, you're not making money off of my game, like, why would Sony keep making games? Like, why would they keep making the PlayStation? Why would Microsoft keep making the Xbox?
The only thing, though, that fights that is consoles have exclusives. Like, for example, Insomniac can't pull that card because Sony will be like, hey, buddy, we're paying you a butt ton of money to make a Spider-Man game, and now you're going to bitch at us? Like, I mean, Obsidian Games can do the same thing with Microsoft. Like, yes, I know that there's more than just the exclusives, but, like, there's a part of me that thinks of that, too, when it comes to that. There's exclusives when it comes to games where I don't know if it's as accessible as... The only reason why I feel like this fight's going on is because it's mobile gaming. And mobile gaming is all about like, yes, we get transactions too in Microsoft and PlayStation. Like, MLB The Show has transactions, but, like, mobile gaming is built on transactions. It's built on the addictiveness and the dopamine that you get when you get that instant reward, like Clash of Clans. I can wait 3 days, or I can buy gems right now and fucking keep playing. Like, that's mobile games. And part of me feels like this is just a, hey, yes, that 30 cents might not be a lot to you, but it's a lot to us, and we want all the money that we can get from this mobile game community. That I hope it doesn't mean the end of console gaming, because I love it so much.
Yeah, and to reiterate what I mean, is, like, I know exclusives are a thing, but is Sony going to make enough money off of a Spider-Man game to make it worth making a next PlayStation? And that's my thing. Of exclusives may sell very well on consoles. Mm-hmm. It's not going to sell well enough for Sony to be like, you know what? We have to make the next PlayStation for this.
So the last thing I'll say about that, because this goes into another rabbit hole, I think if that's the case, I don't think Sony could do it forever, but Sony would be in a better situation than Microsoft there. Because Sony's got enough studios with exclusives that like Last of Us, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima, like all these, Death Stranding, Marvel Avengers, to where they've got enough, and I know Marvel Avengers is on Xbox too, but like look at the Spider-Man thing. They've got enough things to where they could try to like, hey, we're going to see how this goes. Xbox would be royally fucked in my mind. Because yes, they're bringing on more studios as exclusives, but they're not proven yet under the Microsoft brand. And right now, Microsoft is going very hard into Game Pass. And I don't know if Game Pass can justify making a new console. That would just be my preliminary thoughts on console gaming. But the next thing I want to get into, this one may be a shorty but a goodie, but we'll find out. Soapy, apparently Ghost of Tsushima, a game that Jake Neverman keeps saying I should play. But I tell him MLB The Show has been calling my name. See what I did there? I tried to rhyme. Ghost of Tsushima is getting a new cooperative multiplayer mode. This is from Owen S Good at Polygon. It's getting it later this year. One that expands the lore of the PS4 action-adventure set in feudal Japan. Ghost of Tsushima's Legends is the mode, or as the mode is called, will be a free download for all who have the game. It's a separate mode that doesn't follow Jin or the companions from his journey. This is from Darren Bridges, a designer with Sucker Punch Productions, but instead focuses on the 4 warriors who have been built up as legends in stories told by the people of Tsushima. Whereas the game's main campaign highlights the natural beauty of Tsushima's islands, open world environment, Legends is haunting and fantastical, with locations and enemies inspired by Japanese folktales and mythologies. Legends is an exclusive co-op multiplayer mode. It supports matchmaking for groups of 2 to 4. Players may choose from 4 characters: Samurai, Hunter, Ronin, and Assassin. Sucker Punch says it will divulge more about the class's capabilities later. Soapy, what are your thoughts about this? Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer mode.
I mean, it's cool. I really don't have much to say on it. Like, it's just kind of, it's there. I don't own a PlayStation. I can't really play it.
The thing I would say about it is, finally, I was wondering if they were going to get this game a multiplayer mode, because like there are games like Days Gone would be one, Last of Us would be another, where you don't really need a multiplayer mode for that. And I think it's interesting that they're trying to kind of go at it where it's like, we could give you DLC that's just the same old, like, hey, you know what? It's you playing as these warriors, but like, I think to give it a multiplayer mode is something, it's kind of, I don't want to say revolutionary, but it's kind of changing things up a bit. Usually with a game like Ghost of Tsushima, that's mostly a solo game, you're focusing on, hey, we're going to make solo DLC. And I think it's cool that it's getting a multiplayer mode. It's kind of changing things up because it's a game that I did not expect to get a multiplayer mode. But like I said, shorty but a goodie there, because even going into this, we were kind of both like, we don't get a shit ton to say about it. Last thing, though, we'll bring up is at Deathloop today, a game I've been excited for, had this to announce, Soapy. We've made the decision to move the launch date of Deathloop to Q2 2021. Our ambition for Deathloop is to deliver a signature Arkane game that takes you to never-before-seen places in a stylish new world. At the same time, the health and safety of everyone at Arkane Lion remains our top priority. As we've adjusted to work from home, we found that delivering this new and exciting experience at the polish and quality level that defines both an Arkane game and the true next-gen experience is taking longer than normal. This extra time will allow our team to bring Deathloop's world of life with as much character and fun as you've come to expect from our team. While we know this is the right decision for Deathloop, we share your disappointment and apologize for making you wait even longer. Thank you for your support and excitement. Your positive feedback has helped fuel us as we continue to work from the confines of our home. We can't wait to share more details about Deathloop with you, so keep your eyes open for our next update coming soon. Arkane Lion. Soapy, the question I wanted to ask with this one is not about like, oh, what does this mean for Deathloop? What does this mean for next gen? I'll ask this and I'll be kind of broad with it or like large with it. Every time, this is probably the second or third time a game has been canceled on next gen. Is COVID going to delay the PS5 or the Xbox?
No. And that's just because both companies are hell-bent on those consoles coming out. Because if they were going to delay them, they would have delayed them already.
Good point. I feel like how many more, like we said before the show, this won't be the last game before the next gen comes out that gets delayed. Like, how many more games will it take to get delayed for people to maybe go when these come out? I'm not going to buy one yet.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's also, I mean, I'm already expecting a lot of people aren't going to buy them when they come out anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there are people who are struggling financially.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, PSA that I think I said last time, if you can't afford to pay rent or anything, please don't buy a PlayStation or an Xbox. Please focus on something that's more.
But they got the games, Soapy. I agree with you. I'm just being a little dick here.
Oh yeah, I know. Because if you didn't,
no. I'm telling people out there who
you?
might not know me, who might think I'm being serious. I'm not being serious. I'm being a dick right now.
But yeah, it's gonna impact it in the way of we're gonna see, like you said, more games get delayed. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many, but also at the same time, I've at least noticed, like, I mean, obviously Deathloop kind of doesn't fit into the whole, like, as big of a game as, like, what Halo Infinite was when it got delayed. I wouldn't be surprised if Cyberpunk got delayed again, because god damn it, I've been waiting that game for, like, 5 years.
Yeah.
And it keeps getting delayed.
Mm-hmm.
I even made the joke beforehand, may as well just delay it so it's only on next gen.
They'd still come out with it on both.
Yeah, well, because they've had the pre-order thing for current gen, or at least for on Xbox, for like a whole year.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things of right now, I think, it's gonna have an impact in the sense of the launch day libraries may not be exactly the same.
No,
because at least with the fact of, like, we saw Halo Infinite get delayed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we see maybe not a lot of launch day titles, but we see like a few like minor launch day titles get delayed. We may see bigger games get delayed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if Godfall gets delayed, but like there may be a chance at some point that type of game gets delayed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just all going to be wait and see. Basically, this all stems to COVID bad. Yeah. Who'd have thunk it?
COVID bad. Making games from homes is not the ideal way, and like this is just something for me that it sucks, but I understand why they're making this decision. Deathloop, from the moment I saw the first trailer, I was like, this is a game I can get into. I believe, if I'm mistaken, you play as both characters. And basically, like, your death, you get to, like, go back and create a death loop, obviously. But for next gen, I do wonder if there will be, like, is Godfall and the Pathless for PlayStation enough them to sell PlayStation 5s? Is not having Halo enough to sell the Xbox Series X when it comes out? Like, they're this could be the most interesting like generation of gaming that we see from a starting point, because not just because of COVID and how that's affecting everything, but also just like I said, where it's how am I going to buy something if I don't value, I don't want to say don't value, if no game blows me away, because I'll be honest, if I see what I saw from Godfall at that state of play, like if that's the last thing I see up until it comes out, doesn't make me too psyched to, I gotta buy a PlayStation 5 to play Godfall. I thought that going into that state of play. I didn't think that coming out of that state of play. That's for sure. But like, this is another next gen delay. I'm going to stand out on a limb here, and it's not even a far limb, of basically it won't be the last next gen game to not get delayed. And it kind of sucks that we keep getting these games delayed. I understand why they're doing it. I'm not mad at the studio for doing it. It just sucks that this is the world that we kind of live in. Any last thoughts on this before I bring up the last thing I was going to ask you in whole to end the show?
I would mostly just say, I think we could also use, and this is going to sound really weird, that like we can get a positive out of COVID besides a test of you being positive, but that's besides the point. I over-explained it and now I ruined it.
What would that positive be?
This may normalize getting rid of crunch and normalize delaying games.
Yeah, that would be a positive.
And it's so that people aren't working fucking like 80 hours a week to rush a game and then like experiencing people shitting on it.
So, it just hit me. This isn't the third game delay we've talked about. This is the second game delay we talked about. The other one was Riot Games gave their employees the week off. That was the third one. It was about Game Crunch, though. The main reason why. But, damn, I never thought about that. Like, this could be a positive of this is, hey, maybe we don't have to kill our devs and make them depressed and work in shitty working environments because this game has to come out right now. That it's okay to delay games. And I'll be honest, a little bit of it is on the consumer as well. Not as much, but a little bit of how much pressure we put on our, like, I don't think it's as bad anymore. It's getting better. It got better. Of basically when a game's delayed, why is this? It's like, it's not bad. Yes, it sucks it's getting delayed. But it's not just getting delayed to get delayed. It's for a good reason. And I understand hype is a thing. And you got to, once you have that hype, you got to keep it going. And the more you delay, you lose that hype. But I understand all that. Last thing I want to ask you, Soapy, is there's not a lot to talk about with this last thing. I just wanted to talk about if it happens, would you be interested in watching it like we did the State of Play? Apparently next week there's supposed to be a Nintendo Direct. I don't know what's going to be on it. Nintendo had an Indie Direct today that, I'll be honest, some games look cool, like Hades, which was kind of like a Diablo-style game where a guy gets sent down to hell and he's got to fight his way back up, and Zeus is in it and all these Olympian gods. But I will ask you, if the timing works out, and obviously it's not like during your while you're at work, if we're able to, would you like to watch the Nintendo Direct like we did the State of Play, if there is one next week?
Sure, but I have a weird feeling there's not going to really be anything on it.
Okay, yeah, and because that's another thing. Everyone's like, what's it going to be? Like, some people, like, when I see Super Smash DLC, I'm like, you're getting your hopes up. When people say Pokemon, I'm like, what else do they have to announce about Pokemon?
New DLC for Sword and Shield.
Are we getting a DLC? Like, has that been in the works?
Yeah, we've already had a DLC for Sword and Shield.
I know we've had one, but like, have they announced that they're working on the next one to come out soon? is what I'm saying.
I mean, Nintendo absolutely just loves surprises. So
here you go. What's the last one I saw? Pokemon, Smash Brothers. One was like Crash Bandicoot coming to Switch, which I was like, if you're doing a whole Nintendo Direct for that, like, I don't know. If they do have one, I'm assuming it's just going to be small stuff. I don't think it's going to be anything that blows us away. Like, blows us away in general. But that is going to do it for MVP Games Live. Soapy, we finished in under an hour, unless I take a full 5 minutes to outro this show. But thank you guys for watching. If you want to support the channel, support the show, patreon.com/MVPvids. Thank you to Brandon, our silver patron. Thank you to our Patreon producer, Pat, for all the help that we get. Brandon suggested the Cyberpunk topic for today. Discord, the link is down below in the description, or it's in Twitch chat. If you are on Twitch, !Discord. We'll make that show up for you. Let's see. Podcast services eventually. DC Fandom, to answer Sean from earlier, no, I will not be live streaming it, because that would be like an entire day of me sitting in front of my computer, which I'm going to do anyways, but I don't know if I want to live stream it. It'd be a lot of me just watching. I mean, I guess, but I'm not going to live stream it. Because I would have to get up and eat and pee and poop at some point. No.
Okay, yeah, we didn't need to know that part.
So no, I am not going to live stream it. But on the channel, I will be having videos about each of the panels, about the Wonder Woman panels, the Batman panels, all of that, and obviously anything that happens in the gaming side, we will obviously talk about here on the show on Monday. But thank you guys for watching. We will be back tomorrow with more gaming content for you. Thank you for watching. I forgot to say, if you're on Twitch, you can always catch the show MVP Entertainment on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, we do the show live on Twitch, twitch.tv/MVPvids. Thank you guys for spending a little bit of your day with us. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Adios.